Our guest today was sworn in as the 33rd president of the Cook County Board of Commissioners nearly 2 years ago. In 1992, he ran successfully for state representative of the 31st Legislative District. In 2001, our guest today was appointed by Mayor Richard Daley to fill the office of the late Alderman Lorraine Dixon. In February 2003, he won re-election to that office. Our guest today is a graduate of St. Ignatius and Xavier University in New Orleans. He was born and raised in the south side of Chicago in the Chatham-Avalon community, where he continues to reside today. He and his wife, Janine, are the proud parents of their son, Hans Eric, and daughter, Claire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the City Club of Chicago the President of the Cook County Board of Commissioners, Todd Stroger. Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jay. The first thing I'd like to say is, Dr. Green, I heard you this morning saying that you didn't like early voting. Correct. Shame on you, sir. No, a couple of people called in and they gave you the run around there. Yes. Jay, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to speak at the prestigious City Club luncheon today. I'm delighted to report that, contrary to popular belief, Cook County has not fallen into the lake. From what I've told, people across the Western Hemisphere are under the impression that I am apparently solely responsible for the entire sales tax people pay in Cook County, as well as every possible problem in the region. Armageddon was going to happen on July 1st when the sales tax went into effect. It is usually around this time of year that I address this year's Cook County budget, discuss what I plan for the coming year, and what needs to be accomplished in the future. But today is going to be a little different. Before I begin talking about the future of Cook County, we must revisit the past. I do not believe that everyone fully understands how we arrived at this point, or I mean the truth about how we arrived at this point. Let me begin by saying that Cook County continues to be a lean, thriving, financially sound governmental institution. We serve as one of the dominant providers of health care and public safety for residents in Cook County. Cook County is larger than every municipality in the state in terms of our budget, with the exception of the city of Chicago. We're also a governmental body that receives our directives from the state of Illinois, the federal government, and the courts. That is, when these agencies tell us to do something, we have to do it. And they do not care where the money comes from either. If the court mandates that we hire doctors or jail guards, we do it because we are mandated to do it. My father used to tell me that there will be good times and bad times. There will be good decisions and there will be bad decisions. But he never told me that there will be county commissioners who would make a career of using my name in every sentence. And as often as not, tag my name to an outright misfact or statement. My first day at work after I was elected Cook County Board President in November of 2006, it was a chilly wind outside. I came in, hung up my coat, went to my desk, reached for my tea, my newspaper, and one item caught my attention when I was on my desk. It glared at me with yellow sticky tapes neatly arranged in a horizontal fashion. I picked up this pile of papers and looked at its title. It was a comprehensive report on the current financial state of the county. I took a deep breath and began to read. The first yellow sticky tape, written on its bright red marker, spelled out the bad news. Cook County was confronting a $500 million deficit. Welcome to Cook County government. That's what I thought. And I knew that this moment I would be relying on every single piece of my past banking experience, my 15 years as an elected official, to address this enormous deficit. I remembered the challenges of balancing deficits in Springfield when I served in the state legislature. And and when I served as an alderman in the city of Chicago, where things seem to change from year to year. I had promised early in the campaign not to raise taxes that first year, and I kept that promise. By February of 2007, with an enormous amount of sacrifice on the part of our employees and our agencies, the deficit was addressed. No new property taxes, no new sales taxes, and a balanced budget. We did that by making tough choices, some of which were personally hard and very unpopular. I imposed a 17% across-the-board cut that affected every elected official and every agency within Cook County. I downsized my administration first by cutting roughly $4 million from the payroll and ordering employees in my departments to take furlough days. Every department was offered the opportunity to come up with their own solution on how to meet their target cuts. Some did better than others, and some didn't actually meet the 17%. More than one county official argued that their offices simply could not survive these cuts. My office was picketed by unions, marched on by community groups, and at least a handful of commissioners simply refused to work with me. Well, I'm not going to say that right now. I'm going to save that for later. And as I traveled throughout Cook County's neighborhoods and communities, I listened to people who repeatedly expressed concerns about their future: a tightening economy, a tough job market, a growing lack of access to health care, and concerns that as the economy got worse, crime would grow. Every time I saw someone with an expression of concern, I reminded them of how vital our services are. That with a shrinking economy, that more people come to rely on Cook County. I heard on the radio the other day that if you mention the name Todd Stroger, some politicians seem to want to walk the other way. Take a moment and ask yourself this question: what Cook County elected officials did you see stand with me as I supported an ordinance for a modest sales tax increase after my critics voted overwhelmingly to increase revenues and had no idea how they were going to pay for it? Many of these officials have reaped the benefits of budget increases from that sales tax for the coming year. They can look forward to having their funds to keep their staff on their payroll without layoffs or significant downsizing. They did not have to make the tough decisions. That tough decision laid with me. I can appreciate the impulse to do everything possible to steer clear of an issue like this and use it for political gain. That is to say, they didn't have to confront the direct challenge of finding revenue to keep their offices going. I did that. It seemed like a hard choice. It was a hard choice, but it was something that had to be done. Remember that as in governments and municipalities across the country, the bulk of our expenses go to cover labor costs. Our costs total about 80%. My office, the President's office, has discretionary control over only 1% of those jobs. The rest fall under the other elected officials. The reality is that Cook County confronts a structural deficit just as cities and counties across this nation do. When I took office, Cook County had not raised its portion of your property tax for 15 years and had not raised its portion of the sales tax since it was first passed in 1992 at the flat rate of 3/4 of a penny on the dollar. Until February, Cook County had restricted itself to trying to pay for 2008 services with $1992, something that families and businesses in similar straits simply could not do. At the same time, the range of services Cook County provides and the number of people relying on us for these services has expanded, whether you count that as the number of people who visit our health clinic in Palatine or the number of people who pass through our court system each year. I wasn't happy about Cook County's portion of sales tax this year. No one was. We did what we felt we had to do to generate the funds we need to protect vital services that Cook County provides. And I want to be clear, even if every single job over which I had hiring responsibility was cut, it would have barely put a dent into the deficit. Why? Because again, and I cannot say this often enough, Cook County, like state and local governments from California to New York, confront a structural deficit generated by shrinking revenues and static income sources while costs continue to rise, and in some cases, severely. We felt the pinch of higher energy costs and more expensive medicine just like an ordinary consumer, many of whom are relying on us right here in Cook County for those medications, but they can't afford those medicines themselves, even if they work more than one job. In the last 7 years, the federal government has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to military contractors and countries abroad to wage war, while we are struggling to win war on cancer and crime right here at home. These dollars had to come from somewhere, and I assure you that governments like Cook County have felt that pinch. And everything from the amount of federal taxes we get for Medicaid and Medicare to how much Washington passes back in funds for community development and road building projects. That is the essence of the structural deficit that so many governments are confronting across the nation, like the village of Palatine and the city of Chicago, are confronted by Cook County. Yet, because of the hard choice I made with the majority of the members of the Cook County Board, despite the massive challenges currently sweeping the nation's economic environment, Cook County stands today on financially solid ground. And that's compared to so many cities and states across the nation that are struggling to find the dollars, going to ask the federal government for help, hoping they can sell their notes. But we do not have that problem because we faced it. It's unfortunate that some have chosen to put political advantage before the truth and distorted the nature of the 1 penny increase in Cook County's share of the sales tax. I know many of you recognize the reality, but for those of you who don't, let me remind you that the people of the county are not paying 1 penny more for vital goods like food and medicines because these goods are exempt from our portion of the sales tax. When you go to the cash register to pay for something that is taxed under the portion of the sales tax, like a 6-pack of beer or a new suit, you pay a total of 1.75 pennies to Cook County. And that's for 5 courthouses, thousands of sheriffs, judges, state's attorneys, public defenders, public guardians, clerks, and support staff who run those vital facilities. That does not include our health side, our 3 hospitals, our 16 clinics, all of which have to be paid for through public dollars. Not one person has been denied health care from our public hospital and clinics. Not one sheriff has been taken out of the neighborhood or denied the ability to protect the residents of Cook County. There have been no budget-related delays within the circuit court system in processing civil and criminal cases. The lines for adjudicating traffic court cases have not extended past the Picasso due to the shortage of staff. And there have not been any major delays when requesting tax information from the Treasurer's Office. In short, government goes on in spite of, no, but because my administration took the steps to make sure that we have the financial base to meet our commitment to our constituents. There are some county commissioners who have taken the liberty and have succeeded in fooling some of the public into believing that the county is not functioning, that Todd Stroger is to blame for all their ills in society. But I stand here today to tell you the truth. Not only have we worked to put our financial house in order at a time when other governments are under crisis, but we've made some important gains in the last year in making county government more transparent, more efficient, and more accountable. Earlier this month, we formally approved Cook County's first independent inspector general, who for the first time in history has the funding and the procedural power to go after concerns about corruption or wrongdoing anywhere they lead. I recently appointed a new director of our human resources operation, Joseph Sova, who is right there and is going to stand. After a nationwide search designed to ensure that the best possible talent was hired in this vitally important position. The county's Juvenile Temporary Detention Center has been placed under the auspices of the Chief Judge's Office, and that was through our going down and lobbying Springfield and finding a sponsor to do that. And we recently appointed a new oversight board for the county's 3 hospitals and extensive ambulatory and public health clinic system. Some of you know that we revamped our purchasing ordinance and procurement procedures to improve public accountability, fiscal oversight, and participation from vendors throughout the county. Earlier this month, we also held our first Vendors Fair, designed to help connect Cook County businesses directly with Cook County agencies and that may be used to help their goods and services as part of our effort to help companies and economic projects right here at home. We've begun to use performance-based budgeting as a way to ensure that our departments are using taxpayers' revenue as efficiently as possible. Our highway department has pioneered the use of green technologies like recycled rubber in local road projects, and our Department of Environmental Control is pushing a variety of initiatives to help the county reduce its carbon footprint and support green business strategies. And I've worked to use the bully puppet of the Office of the President to push forward proposals and programs to deliver a big bang for the buck. This past summer, when gun violence was taking a devastating toll on our communities, I worked with area ministers and community leaders to convene 6 weeks of the President's Peace Fest, a series of Saturday activities designed to take kids from across the metro area to our forest preserves and recreational facilities for structured activities and workshops to provide real alternatives to aimlessness on the streets. Since mid-September, my administration has sponsored dozens of workshops with NACA, the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America, to fight back against predatory lenders and home foreclosures by giving homeowners a chance to reset and renegotiate their housing loans at affordable rates. Last month, I called for a statewide moratorium on home foreclosures, an effort we're backing up with a petition drive to show the state legislature how much support and need there is out for this effort. Since last year, my administration has been working with NACO, the National Association of Counties, to put drug prescription cards in the hands of thousands of county residents who would save on their prescription at participating pharmacies. My administration has worked in partnership with the Federal Emergency Management Association, FEMA, that provided townships across Cook County with hundreds of thousands of dollars in public safety funds and grants to help homeowners in that time of flooding. I used my authority as Cook County Board President to designate the region a disaster area, and with that, the governor claimed the area as a disaster area, and through that, we have FEMA, the federal government, working with us to make sure that everyone can get a chance to get at least a loan to help their property. And speaking of flood relief, our Cook County Highway Department joined with other county agencies and local governments last month to provide sandbags, emergency road services, law enforcement support, and a host of other services to local homeowners and renters impacted by September's floodings. We've made Oak Forest Hospital of Cook County available as one of 3 FEMA centers in the county where homeowners, renters, and business owners can go to get help with their applications for assistance and compensation from the federal government in the wake of those floods. And I'm excited about plans we have for the future, plans that range from converting more of our vehicles to lower emission engines to passing an ordinance that encourages the recycling of construction and demolition waste, a critical issue in our efforts to reduce our carbon footprint, encourage more green building strategies, and keep unnecessary materials out of our landfills. Before I close, it has been submitted. See, I should have read that one twice before. I try to make all corrections before I get up here. I'm going to cut that out and say, I want to remind people that it seems like some outspoken county commissioners have set their sights on an endless campaign to undermine the administration's efforts, but the proof lies in the results. I also want to refute flat out a particularly hurtful and bogus charge that some of my political opponents have continued to make in the last year, a charge they sum up by the friends and family phrase. For the record, this charge is most often lobbed at Donna Dunnings, Cook County's Chief Financial Officer, and Carmen Trish Colvin, our Director of Purchasing. For those of you who may not know, each of these extremely competent women have worked for Cook County for over 20 years. They have served under 4 other Cook County Board Presidents. I am the 5th. They bring outstanding academic credentials and a wealth of experience and commitment to their work. They are a credit to their offices, and if these few who want to use innuendos and simplistic slogans to smear them and me would only take a moment instead to look at their track record, they would change their tune. County residents deserve better information about how the county operates, and I look forward to continuing to meet these residents with my senior staff and department heads at town hall meetings and public gatherings across Cook County in the coming months. I will be presenting my fiscal year 2009 budget after working with all commissioners, targeting late November for submission. This process includes submission of the Cook County Health and Hospital Systems Board requests that have to be voted on by the board prior to the inclusion of my 2009 executive recommendation. This request is tentatively scheduled for approval on Friday, November 7th. And this is the first time that this process has been included in the formation of my executive recommendation. In closing, it is an honor to come once again before the City Club of Chicago. Cook County is a government that serves people. We will continue to do so. We have a good team of people, and I think you may have met like half of them right now. They will leave this luncheon and go straight back to work and continue to work hard. Thank you.
We have several questions. Teresa is roaming around. I think Mr. Tweed's there. Raise your hand if you have a question. They'll pick it up. And I'm proud to announce that the Stroger Green debate on early voting will take place early next year, because by that time you'll be able to vote for the 2010 governor's race. All right. Starting off, as always, Ms. Joy Saxon, City Club member. Mr. Stroger?
Yes, sir.
City Club board member. We have heard so much negative about FEMA. Have they really helped Cook County? How specifically?
Well, being in the city and now working with the county with FEMA, I would say that FEMA was not always eager to do things for the city and the surrounding area. But I'd say this time they've come out and worked very hard with us. They've immediately sent people to go out into their houses and check out what is actually going on. They've offered grants and low-cost loans. So they have been very good. Thank you.
Councilman Jill Zwick, City Club member. How much did you project would come from the increase in the sales tax? How much has actually come in on a monthly basis?
The finance people are working on those numbers. We actually only collect 2 months from last year because we passed the budget so late. And there's a certain time period in which you are able to ask the state to start collecting the money. So that is why we have to do tax anticipation notes. So the money that we actually collect, a portion will go to pay for the budget of last year. I shouldn't say that. They'll pay for the notes. The notes paid for the budget last year. We will now have to pay for the notes and the cost of getting the notes. We know that the revenue will be down, but it will be enough to cover the increases that will happen in the budget just from the votes on the contracts and labor costs. But we do have a problem, and that it seems that the newspapers are railing against us having a obligation bond that would pay for our capital expenses. Now, if the commissioners will look in their revenue book that comes with the budget, they will see, and I believe it's on page 65, that is included in the budget. So this is not anything new. This has been going on since the 90s. This is how the county decided it would pay for capital projects. And if you decide to change today, then you better have a great windfall, or there will not be any capital projects, because it will come directly out of the budget. It will not be spread over long term, and that means that we'll put a tremendous hole in the revenue.
We have two questions that are very similar, one from Ms. Posner and one from a mystery person. This is an easy one. Will you run for re-election in 2010, and would you predict who your possible primary opponents would be? Right now, in around 2 seconds, you could hear a pin drop. Go ahead.
You know, you want to have a big party when you're going to say you're going to run for re-election. So I would say I will not rule that out. And I believe that if you want to kind of decide who might be my primary opponents, look to the right of you. That person could be running against me.
I mean, just because we disagree on early voting, come on up, Tweet. Just because we disagree on early voting doesn't mean I'm going to run against you. Besides, you know, I couldn't figure out who that fifth person was who's county board president. Thanks to county board member Silvestri, filled me in. Now, from Marty Janis, you present a remarkable record of achievement. All political leaders have when... Marty, we got to work on the penmanship. All political leaders have when the detractors... Okay, let's just get to the bottom line, which I could read. Why is your image and criticism so prominent? Is it all undeserved?
I love the people in the front. Yeah, that's exactly right. I would say that criticism stems from being an election because of an unfortunate circumstance, one that I'd never asked for. You know, I thought my dad was a great leader. One of the most insightful people I've ever met. But when he was not able to run, there was only going to be a few people who would have the opportunity. And I knew one of them could be me. And being young, smart, energetic, I said I'm going to step in and see if I will be given the chance to run. That happened. I think there's just a backlash about the whole process. When people see things happen, they feel like there should be some kind of, well, I should say, there are certain people feel like there should be some kind of election that happens right then and there. Unfortunately, that's not the process we have. No one puts aside money in their budget to have an election at the drop of a hat. If they did, we probably would have a lot of elections and we'd be paying a lot more in taxes. And because of that, I've become the poster child. The editorial boards decided that, we want to knock out Todd Stroger. So you have the Tribune, you know, running a daily tally about the next election. But you also have people writing editorials who have not run one government. They don't seem to care what happens to anybody who is not rich, and they don't really care too much about the truth. So I've been fighting with the editorials. I've been fighting with, I don't fight, I take that back. The editorials are what they are. I realize they're going to write whatever they want. They don't care about the facts. The columnists can write anything they want. You know, I'll tell you right now, I think Carol Maureen is working for Forrest Claypool. She's just his PR person. Anything he told her, because I've heard the rhetoric from his camp, she'd write down like it was the truth. But I can take any article she wrote and I can break it down and I can say, man, these names may be right, salaries aren't right. Matt DeLeon, I don't know if he's good friends with Gerald Nichols or not, but Matt's a hard worker, and the first thing Matt did was came in and revamped our cable, our program, and saved us money. I picked Matt because he was smart. I picked everybody because they're smart. So I don't fight with Carol Maureen. She writes what she wants. I stopped reading the newspaper. I stopped watching the news, even though the news has been kind of fair. When we do things, they put it out there. You know, they may want to ask Commissioner Pareka in the end what he thinks, but at least they put our side out too. So, you know, I think that we've done a great job, and you know, under a lot of fire, and we've been able to get 9 votes. If we've lost any major battle, I can't remember what it was, but if we did, it might have been 1, and that's because we're right. And I can tell you some of these commissioners are so disingenuous They want us to win sometimes. They just don't want to be out in front. Fear. I was a state rep for 9 years. State reps run in fear all the time. When you're running every 2 years, you're afraid of stepping on a landmine. We have the same thing here. Fear keeps them from doing what's right. Did I ever answer that question, though?
Pretty good. Damn good job.
Okay.
Well, by the way, notice he didn't say he doesn't listen to radio, especially Wednesday morning at 7:20 in the morning. Well, how about a big round of applause for our... Mr. President, I think you have a service for 8 of these mugs. I would... Another 1-year membership to the City Club. We'll see you back here next year. We'll give you another one.
Yes, sir.
And we're not going to give you your 7th City Club of Chicago book. We'll give it to Miss Minuzzi.
Good job.
We're adjourned. Good job.
Thank you.